Hey everybody, welcome back to our third video in our Local Hoops Ego series. In this video, I want to talk about some of the additional habits of the ego to let you know that you're operating from a place of ego. And so one of the things that's really important to understand that ego is always addicted to conflict. And when we're in our ego, we can't help but create conflict. And you might be asking why. And it's important to understand that the ego only wants misery for us. Ego serves to keep us separated from our authentic self, our divine self, our eternal self, which is who we came in this world to bring forward, right? That was our purpose of being here. We all came with gifts, but this world has helped us to develop an ego that keeps us from being fully locked into our gifts. And so the ego is always wanting conflict. So you might see yourself always making someone wrong or always trying to be right in a situation. And I know for me, one of the things that showed up in a lot of my intimate relationships with my partners throughout my life is that instead of focusing on all the things that were going right, I would always lock in on what was going wrong. And all that would do is keep conflict and arguments and disagreements and disharmony happening in the relationship. And again, it wouldn't take until I was much older in my life where I could look back and really see how my ego was running the show by me always needing to be right, always wanting to prove my point. Because the truth is, none of us are right all the time. We all have our perspective. When we're in our authentic self and operating from our natural expression, we know we're more likely to listen to other people. But when we're locked into our ego, we always want to force our opinion and be right. Another habit, manifestation of ego, is that we criticize other people. We're always looking to put other people down because, again, the ego is always seeking out conflict. You know, in the first video, I talked about the most common way for us to understand ego is that, we're arrogant or we think we're better than other people. And that's absolutely true. That is a part of the ego. But another part of the ego is that we make ourselves small and we play a victim. And so some of us, many of us have gone through things in our life that were not pleasant for us to experience. Many of us have gone through some awful things. But the truth is, those experiences were lessons in your life designed for you to become who you were supposed to be in this world. And none of us get left off the hook from being our most powerful selves because of what we've experienced. Now, we've all, again, had events in our life, but how we choose to experience those events today is all up to us. But our ego will put us in a state of always being a victim, always complaining, always thinking that life is out to get us. But the truth is, the spiritual truth of this world is that your life is always working in your favor when you have the proper perspective. And so when we think about all these ego habits, all the ways in which ego shows up, and if you look at them, needing to be right, criticizing other people, always making other people wrong, always complaining, being a victim, all those things are designed to keep us in a state of misery and keep us disconnected from our power. So I want you to think about in your life, where do you see yourself complaining all the time? Where do you see yourself always needing to be right and make other people wrong? Where do you see yourself creating conflict instead of harmony? Even where do you see yourself not just criticizing other people, but where might you be engaging in negative self-talk? Because the truth is, we should always be 100% on our own side. I have a little child. I have two little children and an older son, which some of you know, Coach Kalen. But my two little children, Nico, who's 2.5, and Elijah, who's 4 months, I think about, I love them so much. And when I think about the ways in which I negatively talk to myself in many parts of my life, there's no way I would ever let anyone talk to Nico or Elijah like that. And maybe you have little brothers, little sisters. Think about some of the ways in which you talk to yourself, your negative self-talk, because that's your ego too. You would never allow anyone to talk to your brothers or sisters or your mother or your father in that way. So we have to understand our ego will always try to put us in a place of being less than, or even, like we said, being better than, but being less than, to keep us in a constant state of misery. So I want you to reflect on those ideas. In our next video, we're going to talk about one more concept that will tie all this together. So I thank you for listening. I love you all. Peace.